my wonderful champions. I hope all of you are doing absolutely great. Well, today we are going to go ahead with the chapter Reproductive Health. And I'm pretty sure your first preparatory examinations are almost over, right? For at least for the main subjects out there, it's definitely done. And if at all you had attended my live sessions, or if at all you gave your papers, you might be knowing that so many questions had been repeated. Some came as a direct thing, some came with the concepts that we learned. So my dear children, I have one very important request to you. Once you're done with the chapter, please follow the Brahmastra series. Chapter-wise segregation is there. Please do that. Very important. So over here you see MCQs and then you see long answer, short form answer, everything together. But if at all you practice it regularly along with your conceptual understanding. So once one chapter's brief understanding has been done with your NCERT, go ahead and solve questions from this series. Because I have taken all the questions from the Brahmastra series itself while I did the live. So make sure you do that. Okay? So yes, starting off with this particular session over here, the total marks for this chapter is 6. 1 marker, 1 2 marker, 1 3 marker would be coming off from this chapter. There is no 5 marker questions. So initially we will be going ahead with some model question paper questions in the MCQ forms, and then in the long format also when we start solving questions, the initial questions will be from the model question papers, MQP 1, 2, 3. So you are basically covering everything, so please not be worried. First question. Oral pills as contraceptive effectively functions by inhibiting what? So when we say that people take oral contraceptives or basically oral pills, how do they exactly act like a contraceptive method? What are they inhibiting out there? So oral pills is nothing but a combination of two hormones, my dear children, estrogen and progesterone, which are super important in our body, in the female body, for the process of ovulation, that is for the rupture of the Graafian follicle and for the release of the secondary oocyte to happen. And also, if at all the male and female gamete fuses, there is zygote formation, there is embryo formation. This embryo comes and get implanted into the endometrium, and there it will further form, it will undergo its development, right? So that process is known as implantation. So for implantation to happen, you need a thicker endometrium, right? Who does that? It is the estrogen and the progesterone together. So oral pills basically contains either estrogen or progesterone or both of them. But when we give them, okay, when we take oral pills from outside, as in we have them in our body, these hormones in our body, but when we take them in the form of oral pills, basically we are changing the levels of these hormones. Now, it's now not in a normal amount. The levels obviously have been fluctuated. And when this level fluctuation happens in the case of these hormones, because they are already been produced and now we are giving more hormones to our body, obviously there is a fluctuation in the hormonal balance, which is why the functions that they normally do, they would not be doing that anymore. So ovulation, they were helping in that, but now they won't be helping with that. They would not allow implantation to happen, even if, suppose ovulation has taken place, the egg is being released and the sperm came, fertilize it. Now you need implantation to happen for the development to take place, right? So implantation can be also be affected. Okay, so oral pills is contraceptive effectively function by inhibiting what? Amoebasis, richness, nostoc, ovulation, colostrum, diversity. The answer for this question would be ovulation. Okay, the same principle is being used by, I'm telling you, the same principle of releasing hormones and everything is being used by something that you call as implants. Implants are basically put inside our body, underneath our skin, and they, at some levels they will be releasing either estrogen, progesterone or both of them together. Okay, the same principle is being used in the intrauterine devices. You might have seen multiple intrauterine devices which you put inside the uterus. There is a type of intrauterine device, you call it as hormone releasing intrauterine device. There also the same principle is there. What hormone is being released? These hormones, especially progesterone. Okay, synthetic form of progesterone. We'll learn about that. Do not worry if at all you're not understanding all of it at once. Take it slow. Let's just deal with one question at a time. So this is the question that I had for you. Now going ahead with the next question, this is also from your model paper is what I believe. Which of the following is not a copper releasing IUD? Copper releasing IUD. So my dear children, for explaining you all this thing about IUD, for giving you the answer for this question, I think we need to go ahead a bit more ahead and talk actually about IUDs. So just give me a second over here. I have a question. Where is that question? Let me check this. Yes. So there's a question. The popular and the effective contraceptives include IUDs. Mention the type of IUDs with an example of each. So listen to me carefully. IUDs, they come in three categories. One is medicated IUD. Okay, or basically I can start with non-medicated IUD. So first one, let's take it to be non-medicated IUDs, as in they are not going to release anything. They will not be releasing anything in our body, okay? Next thing, you have medicated IUDs, and then you have the copper releasing IUDs. Now listen to me something very, very careful. So over here, in non-medicated IUDs comes your lipase loop. What do you exactly mean by it? So basically, this is the uterus. Suppose in the uterus, I put a loop-like structure which fits in according to the shape of the uterus, my dear children. And this particular thing is foreign for my body. Is what? Foreign for my body. Which is why my body will start producing some immune cells. Okay, it will producing what? Immune cells. As if something foreign has, got inside the body. Now when these immune cells are super active because of the presence of this particular thing over here, my dear children. Suppose over here copulation took place and now sperms are also trying to get inside. These immune cells are already active. Now they will be directly killing the sperms such that the sperms will not be able to go ahead and do the process of fertilization. That is the basic principle of non-medicated IUDs, to create a very unfavorable or hostile environment for the sperms. Okay, because your immune cells are already active because of a foreign thing, that is your lipase loop. And now, if anything else comes inside, obviously it is going to be killed. Okay, please remember, it does not cause any infection. It's all safe. It has to be put inside the uterus by a doctor only. Now, medical IUDs, what do you mean by that? Medical IUD is basically, again, within the uterus, I am inserting something. But this something which I have inserted right over here, my dear children, is going to release some hormones. And basically, these are the ones which I call as hormone-releasing IUDs. Hormone-releasing IUDs. Now, when they release hormones such as progesterone, the normal level of progesterone hormone is going to get imbalanced, which is why what all things are going to be affected. One we studied already, it is ovulation. The second thing that we had is implantation. And one more thing that I want to tell you right over here is the formation of cervical mucus plug. Cervical mucus plug. So listen to me, sperm moves from the vagina to the cervix, then to the uterus. Suppose in the cervical region there's a plug-like thing being formed. Do you think the sperms can move upside? No, the sperms will not be able to do that. Okay, the sperms will not be able to go ahead because of the mucus plug out there. So over here in hormone releasing IUD, you basically are releasing just hormones, which causes hormonal imbalance and causes all these problems. Now, one very important thing, you need to know the example for this. You have LNG20 as an example. LNG20 as an example, you call it as levonorgestrel, or you also have progestasert. That is also, both of them are going to release progesterone. Fine. Now you have copper releasing IUDs. Now copper releasing IUDs, again you have the uterus. Anyway, you're going to insert something inside the uterus. That is why you call it as intrauterine device, inside the uterus, right? So over here you are going to either put Cu7, copper 7. Copper 7 is nothing, a 7-shaped thing which has copper around it. Now there is copper T, which is like a T-shaped thing, and then you have multi-load 375. Multi-load 375 is what I remember, 365, 375. Anyways, so these three are the copper releasing IUDs which are there. They are going to release copper. But now what does copper do inside the uterus? Does this cause any problem? Yes. Basically the sperms which are going to move, okay, they are going to stop their motility, or what do you call, reduce their motility. You do not allow the sperm to move. The movement of the sperm, or the motility of the sperm, is being reduced. The pace of it is being what? Reduced. This is a function of copper. So always remember, just imagine copper is holding the tail of the sperm and is not allowing it to move. Apart from that, it also, apart from reduced motility, motility is basically movement. Apart from reduced motility, it also reduces one more very important thing, and that is the fertilizing capacity. The fertilizing capacity, as in now the sperms will not be able to fertilize the ovum very smoothly. So these two things are something that you need to remember. I gave you the examples for each of them. Non-medicated is Lippis loop, medicated or hormone releasing, it is LNG20 or progestatate. Okay, you call it as levonorgestrel. And CU7, CUT and multilode 335, they are copper releasing IUD. Each of their functions also you critically know. Now one very important thing, there are two contraceptive methods which are widely accepted by people. People accepted it, okay, very easily. One was IUD and the second one is oral pills. One is IUD and the second one is what? Oral pills. Now one more thing, when do you use IUD specifically? When you want to space children. For example, there is a child being born, after 5 years you want your next child being born, so you have IUD to help you out. Okay, so spacing children, and also it is one of the most widely accepted, contraceptive out there, do not forget it. So this question, if I come back to it, it looks like this. I have written everything that I explained to you right over there. Please remember, multi-load also is an example for this. Multi-load 375 is what I remember. It can be 365 also. Okay, so that shows how much amount of copper is being put. Okay, so that's all. Yeah, and yep. Now going back to the question that we were solving. What were we solving over here? We were solving this. So which of the following is not a copper releasing IUD? That is the question. Which of the following is not a copper releasing IUD? LNG20, my dear children, we all know it is levonorgestrel. It is hormone releasing IUD. So this one is the odd one out. CUT or CU7 or multilode 375, they are all copper releasing IUDs. Okay? Yes. Next question. Statement 1. GIFT is an in vitro fertilization technique, or GIFT is an in vitro fertilization technique. In vitro means inside the laboratory. In vivo means inside the body. So GIFT, is it an in vitro fertilization technique? What do you think? GIFT is when, for example, I am a female and suppose in my body I have all the atmosphere for a baby to be born, but I am not able to produce enough amount of ovum, or my ovum is not technically structurally very nice. Okay, I might not be able to conceive because my ovum has some problem, either in the production or in the structure. So what do? I take ovum from someone else, from a donor. From a donor, I take the ovum. Now the ovum is put inside my fallopian tube and I wait for fertilization process to happen normally. So here, fertilization is going to happen normally. The baby is going to be produced within my body itself. So you need to understand it's in vivo. It cannot be in vitro. That will be a wrong statement. GIFT stands for gamete intrafallopian transfer. That means you are transferring the gamete from someone else inside the fallopian tube or someone else. Okay. Now statement 2 says in GIFT, gametes are fertilized outside the female body. Is it wrong? Yes, obviously it is wrong. It is basically fertilized within the body. So over here statement 1 and statement 2, both of these things would be wrong. Statement 1 and statement 2, both of things are incorrect. Cool? Yes, ma'am. Going ahead with the next question that we have, question number 4. Out of the options given below, choose the correct stage for transfer to the fallopian tube for successful IVF results. Out of the options given below, choose the correct stage for transfer to the fallopian tube for successful IVF results. You want IVF means in vitro fertilization to happen. And in which stage will you transfer the embryo so that you make sure that everything is normal? So embryo is being formed in vitro, that means in the laboratory itself. The egg and the sperm is being fertilized inside the laboratory condition. Zygote is being formed. This zygote is a single cell thing. Now it has underwent division also. It has formed an embryo. But embryo up to what stage are going to put inside the fallopian tube? Because anyway, development has to take within the female body itself. So either you can put it in the fallopian tube or you can put it in the uterus. If at all you are putting in the uterus, it should be an embryo which is more than 8 cell stage. If embryo is up to 8 blastomeres, then you are going to put it inside the fallopian tube. Okay, if embryo is up to 8 blastomere stage, you are going to put it inside the fallopian tube. So over here, this is your answer. If beyond 8 blastomeres, you will be putting inside the uterus. Okay, fine. Next question. Reason for human population explosions are given below. The reason for human population, as in the human population to grow so much, is given below. Rapid decline in maternal mortality rate. Maternal mortality means mother's death rate. So there is a decline in mother's death rate. Yeah. Mothers are dying less. That means obviously population is going to increase. It's a good news, but yes, it is leading to population increase. Correct. Rapid decline in infant mortality rate. The babies which are being formed, they are getting super postnatal care, which is why their mortality rate is also getting less. They are also living. So that is why there is a rapid decline in this particular death rate, which is why the population is increasing. Yeah, this is also correct. Now, rapid increase in death rate. If someone is dying more, do you think population is going to increase? Wrong. So rapid increase is a wrong reason. It cannot be leading to increase in the population size. Increase in the number of people in the reproducible age. If people are increasing in the reproducible age, my dear children, obviously in future they will also reproduce and increase the population. So this is also correct. So what are the reasons for population explosions, my dear children? 1, 2 and 4. 1, 2 and 4, I have only one option and this is going to be my answer. C is going to be my answer. Got it? Yes? Understanding? Okay. Next. So what do you have to do when you understand things or when you think the lecture is really good? Do that. Okay. Which of the following sexually transmitted diseases is not completely curable? It is sexually transmitted. You know what? Not all sexually transmitted diseases are incurable. Some are curable, some are not curable. You are being asked which is not completely curable. And always remember, I will tell you to remember it like this. There are 3 H. H, H, H. One we all know, it is HIV/AIDS. Second one is hepatitis B. Hepatitis B. The third one that we have is herpes. Now you can have different type of herpes. One is genital herpes and that is the one which is not completely curable among them. So rest of the thing, gonorrhea, genital warts, chlamydiasis, all of them are sexually transmitted infections, but they are curable to an extent. But genital herpes comes under this, so this is not curable. 3 of them are not curable. Okay? Yes. Next, an example for non-medicated IUD is non-medicated. Okay, it is not going to produce anything inside our body. The example for that is CUT. No, it is releasing copper. Lipase loop. I told you it's a loop-like structure which fits inside our uterus. Does not release anything. Just activates our immune cells, right? LNG20 is a hormone-releasing thing. Multiload 375 is again copper-releasing thing. So non-medicated IUD is just lipase loop, which is why your answer for this question becomes what? B. Cool? Yes, ma'am. Now, the assisted reproductive technologies in which a sperm is directly injected into the ovum is the assisted reproductive technologies in which a sperm is directly injected into the ovum is. Sperm is there and you're directly injecting this inside the ovum. What do you call this process as? You call this as, since you're putting it inside the cytoplasm of the ovum, you call this as intracytoplasmic sperm injection. You call this as intracytoplasmic sperm injection, ICSI. So your answer for this question becomes A. The assisted reproductive technologies in which a sperm is directly injected into the ovum is intracytoplasmic sperm injection. Okay, it's not GIFT, it's not ZIFT. GIFT stands for gamete intrafallopian transfer. ZIFT is basically zygote intrafallopian transfer. So over here we discussed a question, right? We discussed a question where the embryo is put inside the fallopian tube. This is example of ZIFT. This is ZIFT itself. So ZIFT is zygote intrafallopian transfer. Inside the fallopian tube, you're transferring the zygote, or it can be embryo up to 8 blastomere stage. If at all it's more than 8 blastomere stage, then you do intrauterine transfer. Inside the uterus you put, instead of fallopian tube, inside the uterus. That again is an embryo, but up to more than 8 blastomere stage. So always remember, ZIFT, do not just go with zygote, but also embryo. Up to 8 blastomere stage. So over here we were discussing think this particular question, where is that question? Yeah. So assisted reproductive technologies, when sperm is injected, is this. IUT means intrauterine transfer. Okay. Now coitus must be avoided from day 10 to day 17 of menstrual cycle. The reason is, why do you think coitus or sexual intercourse should be avoided from day 10 to day 17? Because my dear, suppose the cycle is from 1 to 28 days. Your midday is 14th day. Your midday is 14th day, so I say ovulation happens over this day. But it's our human body would not have any clarity. Sometimes, my dear children, ovulation can happen between this to these days. From 10 to 17 days, any day ovulation can happen. Ovulation can happen. So coitus must be avoided from day 10 to day 17 of the menstrual cycle. The reason is why? Because the sperms remain viable for 7 days. Is that the reason? Ovum may be available for fertilization. That is your reason. Ovum may be available for fertilization. Ovum loses viability on these days? No. None of these, no. This is the answer for the question. Because ovum may be available for fertilization to happen. That is why you should avoid coitus from 10 to 17 days. And this process is a natural method of contraception. This is what? Periodic abstinence. This is periodic abstinence. That means you're absent during one particular period, that is 10 to 17 days. This is known as the fertile window. Okay, it's known as the fertile window. Done? Clear? Okay? Chalo. Next. Condoms have additional benefit as compared to other contraceptive methods. So one is natural method. One example of natural method we studied it. It's periodic abstinence. There are multiple other methods also. Now condom is a barrier method, but it is not just a contraceptive. It is going to help in one more way. Okay, it does not just prevent in the formation of the baby, but apart from that, it is also going to help with one more very important thing. What is that? It is made up of rubber and latex, provides privacy to the user, protects against STIs, or it prevents implantation. The answer is it protects against STIs. So suppose you're talking about HIV/AIDS, it can be prevented. Someone uses what? Condoms. But obviously for HIV you have to be a bit more careful because it's a deadly disease out there. But yes, the STIs, the sexually transmitted infection, generally can be prevented by condom, which is also a barrier method. So it's a contraceptive plus it protects against STI and the only one to do so. Okay? Next, there's a statutory ban on amniocentesis as. What do you mean by amniocentesis? And why do you think there is a ban on amniocentesis? This is a very important question. So over here in the uterus, my dear children, you have the baby. Suppose you have the fetus, right? The fetus right over here is covered within a sac. You call the sac as amniotic sac. And the fluid up over here, you call this fluid as amniotic fluid. What fluid? Amniotic fluid. Now, the baby cells which are there, they might shed into this fluid. Okay, the cells might shed into this fluid. So when I take this fluid, suppose I'm taking a syringe and using the machine to understand the position of the baby, and then I'm taking this particular fluid. With this fluid, I get the cell. In the cell, I have the nucleus. In the nucleus, I have my chromosomes and everything. So with the help of this chromosome analysis, I get to know the genetic disorders that are there in the baby. What disorders? The genetic disorders. Okay, genetic disorders like what? For example, Down syndrome is a genetic disorder. We studied in principles of inheritance and variation. Okay, apart from that, hemophilia is a genetic disorder. Thalassemia is a genetic disorder. So I can find that out with the help of this. But since I have the access to the chromosome, I can also understand one very important thing, and that is the sex of the child, whether it's a male or a female. Suppose it's a female. People before us preferred to kill that child. Why? Because it was a female. And this is known as female feticide. This is known as female feticide. I know it's so sad to even hear about it, right? So that is the thing, which is why amniocentesis is banned in India. Because people over here, they go on, understand the sex of the child and go ahead with female feticide. That's the reason. But the actual use is to find the genetic disorders such as Down syndrome, hemophilia, thalassemia, all of it. Okay, so there's a statutory ban on amniocentesis. Why? Because of the sole reason that it reveals the chromosomal anomalies. No, that's a good thing. But it can be used for determining the sex of the unborn. It can be used to reverse the sex of the fetus. It can be used for correcting the genetic disorders. No, Baba. The real reason why there is a ban is this. Okay, why amniocentesis is used? Because to find the genetic disorders. If at all we can do something about it, we can do something about it. You get it? So that was the real reason. But the ban is because of the same. So please go ahead and read entire options. You might be even finding better options elsewhere while you read it. So read all the options carefully. Okay, I'm telling you again. Now that's okay, that's clear. If at all your question comes, with the help of amniocentesis, can you find the jaundice? What it will be your answer? Is jaundice a genetic disorder? It is not. So you cannot find jaundice with the help of amniocentesis. As simple as that. Cool? Yes, ma'am. Next, select the option with correct identification of the given contraceptive measure and the hormone essentially present in it. What is this? This is implant. This is what? Implant. And implant, where are you going to put it? Inside, basically beneath the skin. Doctors do it. And what do? I told you, they are hormone releasing. They are hormone releasing. So IUD, no. It is a CUT, no. The subcutaneous implant. Okay, the cutaneous, beneath your cutaneous layer, you're going to put it. Progesterone or hormone or progesterone estrogen combination. Yes, this is your answer. It is not an intramuscular implant. You're not putting it inside your muscles. It's just a subcutaneous implant that you have where it releases hormones. Okay, it prevents ovulation and implantation. Okay. Next, a lady is 8 weeks pregnant. How many weeks pregnant? 8 weeks. Various tests done confirms that if her child is born, it would suffer from a serious illness. Okay. What is the best suggested option in this particular case? So here, it is a threat to the baby who is being born. The baby is having a serious illness. What can be done? What can be done? Amniocentesis is to be performed. With the help of amniocentesis, probably this thing was confirmed, right? So obviously not this. Emergency contraceptive pills to be taken. That has to be taken before conception happens, before the baby is being formed. So obviously no. MTP is to be performed. What is MTP? Medical termination of pregnancy, or you also call this as induced abortion. This is not natural abortion, you're inducing it. But the best way to be dealt with this particular case is what? MTP. Why? Because the baby is born with a serious illness, might probably die later on, might have some serious problems later on as well. So MTP is considered if it is risk to mother's life, okay, if it is risk to mother's life, or if it is risky to the baby's life as well. So MTP is performed only in that condition. So please remember, this is something that would be suggested. Tubectomy is to be performed. Tubectomy means you're cutting the fallopian tube off. So tubectomy is a contraceptive method. You want to prevent conception to happen. You do not allow the transport of ovum, and that's how you will make sure that the sperm and the egg is not meeting. How? By cutting off the fallopian tube. The egg will be here, the sperm will not be able to come here because there is a bridge in between. So that is tubectomy. So obviously that is not needed over here. Here we can talk about the child already being formed inside the womb, and what are you going to do with that? Okay, if that person has a serious illness. So this is wrong, okay? Please go ahead with this. Okay, the option is C. Going ahead, which of the following contraceptive devices is having a common mechanism of action? Which of them has a common mechanism of action? Valves and condoms. Valves are usually are used by the females. It's a barrier method. Valves are put inside, my dear children, towards the cervix region. It's like a cap-like thing. So towards the cervix, it is when it is being put, the sperm will not be able to enter the female body. So valves is a barrier method, condom is also a barrier method. So both of them, okay, are same contraceptives, are having the same mechanism of action. So this should be your answer, but let's see the other one. CUT and multi-load. CUT is copper releasing and multi-load 375 is also copper releasing. It is also copper releasing, okay. Progesterone and the cervical caps. Progesterone and the cervical caps, my dear children. Progesterone is an hormone releasing thing, and whereas when you talk about cervical caps, it is a barrier method. It is what? A barrier method. So basically this is the odd one out. Over here it also matches up. Mala-D and lipase loop. Lipase loop is a non-medicated IUD, and Mala-D, just give me a second, okay? Okay, so Mala-D is not given in NCERT, but it is a hormone releasing oral pill, okay? It is having hormones in it, it's an oral pill. So basically this one is also not something that matches up because lipase loop is a non-medicated IUD. This is an oral pill, so this is also not the one. I think there is an extension of this particular question. You had A and B and B and C and things like that. Because over here, you have been asked which of the following contraceptive devices is having a common mechanism of action. So both of them has one very important thing that can can be still there is that here they have not mentioned multi-load 375, which is why probably this could also be wrong, which is in that case, your option would be A. Your option would be A. If it's not a typo, then this is your answer. So, yes, going ahead with the next question, which of the following contraceptive devices is having a common mechanism of action? So we have valves and condoms, my dear children, both of them are barrier method, but valve has to be inserted onto the cervical region. Okay, so in the cervix, if at all we insert this particular wart-like structure, it would not allow the entry of sperm within the uterus. Whereas condom can be used in the case of males as well as females, also a barrier method. But my dear children, both of them, if at all you see, the places where they are inserted is quite different. Okay, let's see the other option, CUT and multi-load. Over here, both of them are copper releasing and both of them are IUDs. They have the same function. So this becomes more relatable answer. Going ahead, progesterone and cervical cap. Progesterone is hormone releasing thing. Cervical cap is a barrier method. Malardi is an oral pill and lipase loop is a non-medicated IUD. So over here, this and this can be the answer, but if at all you have to choose one, then it would be CUT as well as multi-load, because both of them are inserted inside the uterus only. Both of them does the same function of releasing copper also. So I know this question is kind of confusing, but yes, your answer remains to be this, B. Cool? Yes, ma'am. Next question. If a female has rudimentary ovary but can provide a suitable environment for the growth of the fetus, the ART, that is assisted reproductive technology technique that can be used is. So here the female has rudimentary ovary, that means the ovary is not fully functional, but can provide a suitable environment. That means she might not be able to produce ovum because ovum is produced by the ovaries, but she definitely can provide the suitable environment for the growth of the fetus. Then what is the answer for this? IVF ET, that is in vitro fertilization, and then do an embryo transfer after the fertilization in the laboratory, transfer the embryo inside the uterus, that is ET, embryo transfer, inside the uterus or the fallopian tube. Okay, so under ET, embryo transfer comes two things, is ZIFT, that is ZIFT, and the other one is IUT, intrauterine transfer. So either thing. Well, that is not something that we can utilize over here. In vivo fertilization we'll be having. Fertilization can happen inside the body. You just need to give the gametes. So gametes can be transferred with the help of GIFT, that is gamete intrafallopian transfer. Okay, so this would be your answer. Artificial insemination is being done when the male reproductive system, basically suppose they are not producing enough sperms or the sperm motility is less. In that particular case, you artificially inseminate. That means you take the sperm, the motile sperms, and you put inside the uterus or you put inside the vagina also. That is known as artificial insemination. Now CUT and multi-load 375, my dear children, that is obviously not a part of this particular question. So your answer for this question would be GIFT. Okay. Now there are the long form questions from this chapter. Initially we will be covering the model question paper questions and then we will be going ahead with the other ones. So mention any 4 assisted reproductive techniques that can be advised to couples with infertility problems. People are facing infertility problems, and what are the assisted reproductive techniques that can be used? First is in vitro fertilization, where basically a female is made to do hyperovulation, as in so many ovum is being produced in her body with the help of the hormones. Okay. Now the ovum is being taken, the sperm is also being taken. In the laboratory condition, both of them are fused. Both of them are going to be fused. When they are fused, what do you get? You get the zygote. You get the zygote. Now you can either insert the zygote inside the fallopian tube, because from the fallopian tube, you always need to remember, suppose this is the uterus, you have the fallopian tube, the zygote is being formed within the fallopian tube itself. The later it will divide into embryo, and this embryo is going to roll down. Okay, the embryo is going to roll down into the uterus. So this has to be happening naturally. So after the zygote is being formed, either you transfer it inside the fallopian tube. That is known as ZIFT, Z-I-F-T. When the zygote is being formed, please put it inside the fallopian tube, or probably, suppose the zygote has divided, now it has formed an embryo, and the embryo has reached 8 blastomere stage. That means basically there are 8 cells over there. There are 8 cells over there. Until this particular stage, I can still put it inside the fallopian tube. I can still put it inside the fallopian tube. So ZIFT means zygote intrafallopian transfer, where the zygote up to 8 blastomeres is transferred into what? Into the fallopian tube. Next, suppose, my dear children, it is more than 8 blastomere stage. I cannot put it over here. It will lead to ectopic pregnancy. Ectopic means, the spelling of ectopic stands as E-C-T-O-P-I-C. Ectopic means basically pregnancy where it happens at other location apart from the natural ones. Okay, that is known as ectopic pregnancy. So suppose over here embryo is more than 8 blastomere cell stage. Embryo is more than 8 blastomere cell stage, and now you're putting it somewhere over here, fallopian tube. It will lead to the formation of baby here. Might even lead to the death of the mother, because it should not be developing out there. There is no space. You have to develop the baby right over here within the uterus. Okay. So intrauterine transfer means the embryo which is more than 8 blastomere cell stage is directly put inside the uterus, and there it will undergo its further development. Okay. Now, gift is there. Ovum from a donor is transferred into the fallopian tube of a woman with functional uterus for in vivo fertilization. So we just discussed it. Suppose the female does not have a proper ovary. Ovum is not being produced. And in this particular condition, the female definitely has a very, a functional uterus. Can you just pass down the gametes at least? Yes, and that is known as gift. Gamete intrafallopian transfer. Again, you put the gamete over here. We wait for fertilization to happen. Here, the most important thing is fertilization happens inside the female's body. Okay. Then you have artificial insemination, AI, where the semen from the husband, suppose the husband has enough amount of sperm, but the sperm does not have good count. So we take the enough sperms out there and we insert it into the female by ourselves, okay, with the help of artificial insemination. Or we can take it from the donor also. Suppose the sperm which is there, it is not of good quality, or it does not have good motility. In that case, we can take it from the other donor also. In this particular condition, you need to understand that if at all you are putting it inside the uterus, if at all you're directly putting inside the uterus, not through the vagina, but directly inside the uterus, you will call this as intrauterine insemination. What do you call this? Intrauterine insemination. You are putting inside the uterus directly. That is what we mean by intrauterine insemination. So in that particular case, your answer would be IUI specifically. Over here, if we're just saying that insemination is happening artificially, that is artificial insemination. Cool. So we have studied all the different types of assisted reproductive techniques. Now, there's an associated question. Mention the reasons for infertility in humans. Mention the reasons for infertility in humans. What are the reasons for infertility in humans? It can be physical reason. For example, there is structural defects in the reproductive organ. It can be congenital, that means something that we get from our hereditary, okay, such as hormonal imbalance and things like that. Or it can be disease-related cases. For example, if someone has some STIs and things like that, it can also prevent fertilization. Now you have drug-related thing. Certain drugs, my dear children, it prevents fertilization. Something, it can be immunological. For example, your body might not be able to recognize what is your cell, what is not, and hence go ahead and kill all the cells out there. So it can kill the gametes in that particular case also. Then there is psychological causes. Psychological, where emotional factors may lead to infertility. Okay, so these are the few things. So if I see, my dear children, in the model question paper, this question is also from infertility. This is also from infertility, and yes. So there are two questions that are coming from infertility. You can expect a question coming from infertility this time. So please make sure that you study it very, very nicely. Okay. Now mention any two events that are inhibited by the intake of oral contraceptive pills to prevent pregnancy in human. The two events that are inhibited by the intake of oral contraceptive pills. When we take oral contraceptive pills, I told you, it's either ovulation or implantation that is being affected. Because while you're taking up oral contraceptive pills, you need to write it. You have a combination of either progesterone, estrogen, or individually you are giving these hormones, which causes hormonal imbalance, which causes these troubles out there. Cool? Yes. Now, what are emergency contraceptives? Right there, hormonal combination. Now, this is a very important question. What do you mean by emergency contraceptives? What do you mean by emergency contraceptives? This has to be taken during emergency. For example, if suppose someone, oh my God, this should not be happening, but suppose someone has underwent a rape. Now, obviously, this is not someone one would ever like in their life, which is why they have to prevent the conception to happen, and it has to be done within the next 72 hours. Why 72 hours? Because, my dear children, suppose the ovum is not been released. Woman has not ovulated yet, but the sperm has been put inside the female body. right? The sperm can stay viable inside the female body for 72 hours, that is 5 days. Okay, it can remain viable inside the female body for 72 hours. Now, in between this, if ovum arrives, if ovulation happens, then there are still chances that fertilization could happen. And we need to prevent that. We need to prevent that. So what do? We can either take pills. Why? Because suppose ovulation has happened, suppose the fertilization also took place, it can still prevent implantation. That is why we can take pills. Or again, we can take hormone-releasing IUDs. We can put hormone-releasing IUD, they will be releasing hormones, creating an imbalance out there. That can also be possible. What about implants? That can also be done. So basically, anything that has a hormonal combination is something that would be working effectively. Emergency contraceptives are pills used to prevent pregnancy after unprotected sexual intercourse or contraceptive failure. They are intended for use within a short window, usually 20 to 72 hours after the event. Administration of progestrogens or progestrogen-estrogen combination can be done here. Okay, they are asking you about the hormonal combination, you have to mention about that as well. Cool. Now, the 3-marker question that has come in the MQP, and write any 3 principles to be followed by people to be free from sexually transmitted infections. So, if at all someone wants to be free from sexually transmitted infection, first thing, please avoid multiple partners. Okay, avoiding multiple partners is being safe. Second, please have correct and consistent use of condoms, because I told you it's not just a contraceptive. It is not just a contraceptive, but also something that prevents STIs, sexually transmitted infection. Now, prompt medical checkup as well as treatment. Okay, medical checkup as well as treatment has to be done. That is also one very important thing. Next is avoiding sharing needles as well as razors, because some STIs, I'm telling you only some, okay, a few STIs can also be transmitted through other fluids rather than just being the sexual fluid, genital fluids. Apart from that, you have blood and everything. It can be spread to that also. But these 3 are something that is strictly given in your NCERT. Please write them down. Okay? Yes, ma'am. Now, define venereal diseases or sexually transmitted infections. Mention the modes of transmission of STIs. Now, again, in the 3-marker section, you see 2 questions from the same category, from STIs. So, again, you have to be very much prepared. Please go ahead, read your NCERT, go through the symptoms that you have. Okay, the symptoms that you have in STIs. The name of the diseases that are there in STIs. That was very important. So, venereal disease or STIs are infections that can be transmitted primarily through sexual contact with an infected person. That is sexually transmitted diseases. Now, modes of transmission of STIs. Unprotected sexual interaction is one such thing, and we all know that. Apart from that, some of them also can be spread through sharing contaminated needles or syringes as well, such as in the case of drug abuse. From transfusion of infected blood or the blood products. For example, a person is suffering from thalassemia, they need repeated transfusion of blood. Suppose the blood is not being checked properly, it might have some contaminants, okay, some things that causes all these infections. So yes, in that particular case also, some man might have it. Now, from infected mother to the fetus during pregnancy. From infected mother to the fetus during pregnancy, that can also be a reason. Okay, so those are the modes of transmissions of STIs. Now, going ahead, what is medical termination of pregnancy? Mention any 2 medical grounds on which pregnancy can be terminated. What is medical termination of pregnancy? I already told you, it is induced abortion. It is intentional, my dear children. It's a legal termination by medical or surgical methods. Now, there are 2 medical grounds in which people can actually take up this when it is risk to the life of the mother or severe congenital abnormalities or genetic defects in the fetus that is going to be produced. You need to remember a few things. It was legalized in the year 1971. Legalized in the year 1971, but people started doing it after doing amniocentesis. There was increase in female feticide, which is why there was a Medical Termination Amendment Act. There was a Medical Termination Amendment Act being put in the year 2017. According to that, if at all a person is 12 weeks pregnant, you need to have permission from at least one registered doctor. One registered medical professional out there, you should be having permission. But suppose it is 12 weeks mean what? 3 months. 12 weeks means 3 months. Suppose someone is doing in 24 weeks, that means basically 6 months. Then you need to have permission from at least 2 medical professionals. 2 medical professionals, because it is highly unsafe to be done in 24 weeks. It is safe to be done up to 12 weeks. Please remember these very important points also. So it was legalized in the year 1971, but Medical Termination Amendment Act was put down in the year 2017, according to which someone can undergo MTP until 24 weeks. But if at all it is going up to 24 weeks, you need permission from 2 medical professionals, and if at all it's up to 12 weeks, then you need permission from 1 medical professional. It is safe only up to this particular period. From here, it is not safe. Only up to 12 weeks, it is safe. Apart from that, it is not at all considered to be safe. Am I clear? I hope I'm clear. Yeah? Okay. The next thing. The popular and the effective contraceptives includes IUD. Mention the types of IUD with an example of each. We already discussed it, which is why I don't think we need to discuss it again, right? So non-medicated IUD, copper-releasing IUD, and hormone-releasing IUD. And yeah, that's all. The next question, what is contraception? Briefly explain 2 natural methods and 2 surgical methods to prevent contraception. Okay, what is contraception? Contraception is basically the birth control method that we have. Okay, that is what you mean by contraception. To something that prevents conception. Conception means formation of the baby. So, yes. In that you have certain natural methods and surgical methods. So we have studied in total, there is natural method, there is barrier method, there is IUDs, there is oral pills, and there is this thing, what do you call it as, implants, okay, and then there is this particular method also, which is surgical method. So natural method, we have studied one thing, that is periodic abstinence, where someone will not be doing sexual intercourse between 10 to 17 days of the menstrual cycle. Why? Because this is the fertile window, as chances of fertilization are very high during this particular period, because this is a fertile period. Now the next one is withdrawal method, or you also call this as coitus interruptus. What do you call this as? Coitus interruptus. So either it is withdrawal method or coitus interruptus, where often over here, my dear children, a person who thinks that is about to inseminate will be removing the penis outside the female body. Okay, so ejaculation should be done outside. So that is known as withdrawal method. So conception should be prevented by withdrawal method, or coitus interruptus is another method in which the male partner withdraws his penis from the vagina just before ejaculation, so as to avoid insemination. Insemination means ejaculation within the female body. That's known as insemination. So that is one more method, withdrawal or coitus interruptus. You are interrupting the coitus, sexual intercourse. Apart from that, one more natural method is there, and that is known as lactational amenorrhea. Lactational amenorrhea. What do you mean by that? Lactational amenorrhea, please go through the NCERT also. The one very important thing about lactational amenorrhea is that suppose a female has just given birth. Now for 6 months, okay, 6 months in her body, the level of a hormone prolactin is very, very high. Why? Because she is lactating, she is breastfeeding. And prolactin is very important hormone for the formation of milk. Now, since this hormone level is super high in her body, my dear children, it inhibits, this particular hormone does not allow FSH and LH to increase. Follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone, it does not allow it to increase, which is why their level will be very, very down. If their level is down, ovulation is not going to happen. Ovulation is not going to happen. So up to 6 months, it is considered to be safe. But my dear children, so someone can have sexual intercourse up to 6 months, but it is still risky. All the natural ways are considered to be risky. Why? Because there is a high failure rate. There is a high failure rate, and which is why you do not see gap between 2 siblings that can be planned, can be unplanned as well. Okay, that is lactational amenorrhea. Now going ahead with the surgical methods that you have 2 of them. One is tubectomy and the other one is vasectomy. Tubectomy, as in you are going to cut the fallopian tube. Fallopian tube. Now fallopian tube is something that transfers the ovum. Suppose the fallopian tube is cut and being tied, my dear children, do you think the ovum transfer can take place? No. So ovum and the sperm, even though it comes, it cannot come and fertilize over here. Why? Because it is being cut and is being tied. Over here, you need to understand one very important thing. Oogenesis is happening. Ovum is being released. Ovulation is happening. Menstrual cycle is also happening. Why? Because ovum is being released. The hormones are still active. Menstruation will also happen. But in the menstruation, my dear children, you will not be seeing any ovum. There is no ovum because the ovum was not able to get transported out there. Okay, this is one very, very important thing. And also remember, tubectomy and vasectomy, both of them has poor reversibility. Even if at one point of time we think that, okay, we need to have children out there, we cannot have it. There's a very poor reversibility rate over here. So it is a female sterilization technique in which both the fallopian tubes are cut and a small part of the fallopian tube is removed or tied up through a small incision in the abdomen. So through the abdomen it is being done, or through the vagina it is being done. These techniques are highly effective, but the reversibility rate is what? Very, very poor. Cool. Now vasectomy is there. It is a male sterilization technique in which both vas deferens tubes are cut and the small part of the vas deferens is removed or tied up through a small incision on the scrotum. It prevents the transport of sperms. Here also, vas deferens is something. Vas deferens, you know, rete testis, vasa efferentia, epididymis, then vas deferens. Vas deferens is the one that transfers thing towards the uterus, through the, not the uterus, sorry, I'm so sorry, urinary bladder. In the male there is no uterus, yeah. So, if at all I cut it and tie it up, again the sperm will not be able to move. Here, spermatogenesis is happening. Yes, sperms are being produced. But my dear children, they are not going to get transported. So, here is semen produced. Semen means what? Basically, ma'am, semen means seminal plasma plus the sperm. You know, there are accessory glands which are going to provide some secretion to the sperm. Okay, they are going to still have their production. They will still be produced, but sperms are going to be missing from here. Sperms cannot come through, you know, sperm has to move towards the accessory glands. So they could not reach the accessory glands, which is why the accessory glands will still produce seminal plasma, but sperm is not going to be there. So both of them together, I'll say it is semen. So semen is there, semen is being produced, but without sperms. Actually, both of them together we call it as semen. But here we say, according to your NCERT, semen is being produced, but without sperm. So spermatogenesis is happening, please remember that, but sperm is not going to be there in the semen, and it is having very poor reversibility rate as well. Yes, so there was a technical glitch and my audio went. So until semen, I hope you have had this in your head. And now one more very important thing, and that is about the one more contraceptive pill, which is known as Saheli. Remember, it is the first non-steroidal oral contraceptive pill, and it's a once in a week pill. You do not have to do it, you do not have to take it every single day. That is one very important thing. Saheli, it's a non-steroidal drug, and it's just a once a week pill. Okay, apart from that, and this was produced by CDRI, that is Central Drug Research Institute, which is located in Lucknow. And also one very important thing, in India we have RCH program, that is Reproductive and Child Healthcare Program. Make sure you know the abbreviated form. It's just RCH, not RHCH, nothing like that. RCH is Reproductive Child Healthcare Program, which makes sure that child is being reproduced, safely, mother is given postnatal care and everything out there. Okay, maternal care and the baby with postnatal care. So these are the things that you need to have in your head. And my dear children, thank you so much. I hope this video had helped you really, really well.